Everybody loved the new Assassin's Creed game, right? Everybody loves all the new Assassin's Creed games. They're great. They're amazing. 10 out of 10. 4 million players. Milestone. Everybody loves telling me that I love Assassin's Creed. I used to love Assassin's Creed, the original, like 4, 5, 6 games. I haven't played Assassin's Creed probably since Black Flag. I've played Assassin's Creed, but I haven't played Assassin's Creed, you know. I used to do everything in the Assassin's Creed games. I used to try and get all the collectibles. I think I did get all the collectibles in Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, which there was a lot of collectibles, but I did everything in those games. And the future of Assassin's Creed just got leaked. So let's see, are they going to go back? Are they going to make games that are going to get people like me, who used to love Assassin's Creed but currently think it's disgusting? Are they going to get me to start playing Assassin's Creed again? Probably not. My prediction is they're going to keep doing what they're doing, but more of it. Not going to do anything new. They might implement something that's slightly new, that's like a new system, or change a system in a future game, but everything else is going to remain mostly the same, you know, to keep that Assassin's Creed feel.
So we all know that Assassin's Creed is like huge for Ubisoft. I mean, it's one of the few franchises that still regularly make them money, and as a result, they're doubling.
That's because they shut down all the other games, like Prince of Persia, the thing that started Assassin's Creed.
Tripling, quadrupling down on it. And a brand new report from Tom Henderson over at Insider Gaming actually breaks down the future of Assassin's Creed and just kind of confirms what a lot of us suspected, which is that Ubisoft is putting all of their eggs in this basket. There's a lot riding on Assassin's Creed, kind of lifting the company out of the pit that it's dug itself into. And in this video, I'm going to break down for you all of the things reported here with a couple of extra little interesting tidbits. But the main takeaway is that Assassin's Creed is very much alive, and if anything, it is getting more cash injected into its veins than probably ever before. There are 9 games expected to release in the next 6 years.
That's a lot. We're getting more than one per year in some cases. That's a crazy amount. People are going to get Assassin's Creeded out. Even if they make a great game, like 10 out of 10 game, they're going to milk it dry. And it'll just be like 1. There'll be 1 out of the 9. Maybe like 4 out of the 9 will be good, and the rest is just going to be slop. That's how it usually goes whenever companies push games out like this.
And some of them represent small investments, others represent gigantic investments on the part of Ubisoft and Tencent, a recent investor into the fold. We're gonna break it down.
It sounds to me like throw a whole bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks.
There's some interesting tidbits. At least one of the games we previously thought was coming has been canceled, or at least very, very much seems to have been canceled. And they also looks like they're going to be taking a very interesting marketing approach with a couple of these. One that I actually suggested to a couple of Ubisoft developers like a year and a half ago, which is interesting. Again, I'll break it all down for you. We'll get into it. But before we do, subscribe. Otherwise, my editors will get mad at me because I'm supposed to give a call to action. So please. Otherwise, they'll yell at me, please. Or don't subscribe. I'm not your dad. I don't care. I'm just glad you're watching. I'm glad you're here. Let's talk about Assassin's Creed and the crazy number of things coming.
Yeah, woo! More Assassin's Creed is what we all wanted!
Buckle up, buckaroo. There's a lot. So like I said, this report is from Tom Henderson over at Insider Gaming. I'll have it linked below. You should go check it out, read it yourself, just to support him and the website and all of that stuff, because there is a lot of original reporting in here, and that, amazingly enough, is not that common in the industry nowadays.
Are we gonna get a futuristic Assassin's Creed game? Like an actual futuristic one, like a Mass Effect type Assassin's Creed game? That would actually be pretty fucking fire.
Having said that, he breaks down a lot of what's to be expected. Some broader context for this, of course, is just that Ubisoft doesn't have that many pots on the stove. I mean, they pretty much have Far Cry, Rainbow, and Assassin's Creed, and those are the 3 IP that actually make money for them. Everything else...
Listen, Ubisoft, please. All you gotta do to make a comeback, do what Bethesda's doing, do what Capcom's doing. A Desmond Miles series remake the whole series, not just one game, remake the whole series and with updated graphics in the Unreal Engine. You will make so much money doing this, and it would be easy. Just do what they did to Oblivion. Put the old engine into the new engine. Just enhance the graphics and leave the gameplay alone. Even if it's crap, you will make so much money and get so much good faith back.
Also, they've kind of messed around with has lost money or really struggled. Even games that they previously thought were locked and loaded successes without even really needing to try, like Star Wars Outlaws.
Man, I even forgot that Star Wars Outlaws was a thing. I forgot it existed. That's how forgettable this is. And I covered this. I made a lot of videos on Star Wars Outlaws. Now nobody's talking about it. I wonder why. Because we were fucking right. Every time, we're always right with this. All the games that we get so much pushback for saying, it doesn't look that good, and people are like, well, you're a fucking idiot. This is going to be a 10 out of 10 game. And I'm just like, all right, man. All right. I don't know why you're getting so upset about it. I mean, I'm screaming and yelling and stuff, but this is for entertainment. I don't actually feel any type of way about video games all that much, really. I mostly play retro games and indie games. I'm mostly just in the conversation because it's fun.
Ended up losing a good amount of money. I mean, I can just imagine in the corporate offices, all of the executives being like, well, it's Star Wars. It has to make money. Of course, it's Star Wars. But then, of course, we remember how that went. Same with Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora.
Of course, it's Star Wars. It always makes money. They forget about the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. So many slop Star Wars games. So many great ones. I think that's what they're aiming for, is like the Star Wars situation where you throw out 9 games and 3 of them are great.
A massive franchise. The movies do billions, but the game just didn't. But because Ubisoft only has a few pots on the stove that are worth anything, when Tencent decided to partner up with Ubisoft and invest recently, notably, they only invested in these 3 IP. It's kind of funny, they could have invested in Ubisoft just generally, investing like $1 billion into them or buying a bigger share of the parent company, what have you. But instead, they spun off a separate entity, and that entity licenses these IP from Ubisoft corporate. And then this separate entity gets to enjoy all of the profits and losses and other benefits and downsides of those IP, while simultaneously being shielded from the crap going on within Ubisoft corporate. It's kind of a slippery and overly complicated maneuvering financially on the part of Ubisoft, but basically what it means is that if Ubisoft loses money by trying to launch like another NFT game for some reason, which yes, they're doing again here in the next few weeks, then if that loses tons of money, or Beyond Good and Evil 2 launches and loses $400 million, Tencent is...
Yo, I forgot about that game. That's a Ubisoft game? Is this game even coming out? I don't even think it's gonna. I think this is gonna be in like a Duke Nukem Forever situation where it's just perpetually in development hell, and then they finally just decide to release it because, you know what, fuck it, why not? Somebody will buy it. If we keep it, we're just going to keep dumping money into it until we cancel it. We'll just release it now.
Not exposed to that risk in this separate little entity. They do own shares of the parent company, but you know what I mean? Like, this separate entity is not affected by those losses. But if Assassin's Creed blows up and does really well with a couple of releases, Tencent benefits from that much more directly because they're not having to share that benefit and that profitability with the other entities, other investors elsewhere. So it's a win-win for Tencent. They're very happy with this arrangement, but it does just kind of reaffirm what everybody else has been saying, which is that Ubisoft basically has Far Cry, Rainbow, and Assassin's Creed. And that trio is what's keeping their company with close to 20,000 employees afloat. Just those 3 IP. It's crazy. But then it starts to make sense why Ubisoft has this strategy. As you can see here, they have a strategy for the next 6 years where it's expected that the franchise will have at least 9 more AC games, 2 RPGs.
I wonder how many of those are mobile games also. How many are mobile games? How many are going to be remasters? Because I bet remastered versions of games are included in those 9 upcoming games. Like, not how Oblivion was remastered. I'm talking like where they just kind of upscale the textures a little bit.
3 remakes.
3 remakes. So those 3 remakes are not included in the 9? Or no, these are all. Okay, the next few are included in the 9. 2 RPGs, 3 remakes, 1 smaller experience. Is that going to be like an original Assassin's Creed game? That'd probably be the one that I like. 2 multiplayer games. So we're getting some slot multiplayer games with storefront simulators. and a mobile title that'll also be a storefront simulator. So 3 storefront simulators, 1 smaller experience that'll probably have a storefront, 3 remakes, most likely going to have skins, storefront, 2 RPGs with storefronts.
Smaller experience, 2 multiplayer games, and a mobile title, all within 6 years. That's a lot. That's like early 20-teens Ubisoft levels of Assassin's Creed content. But they're breaking it up. Whereas back in the early 20-teens when they were pumping out AC3, and then they go to Black Flag, and then they do Rogue and Unity in the same year, and Syndicate the next year, where they used to try to do major releases one after another back then. Now they're trying to break it up so that they have a mainline massive game every few years, and then smaller things in between. As you can see, their current plan is to release a traditional mainline RPG, something like a Valhalla, Shadows, Origins Odyssey, that type of thing, every 2 to 3 years, with smaller experiences and remakes in between. And I'm just going to be real, this is the right way to do it.
Yes, it is the right way to do it, I agree, but can they do it right? We'll see.
Like, I know maybe you're braced for me to like make fun of this or tease it or whatever. I think this is the best way to do this if you're going to do it. Give the big teams enough time to actually make a quality big game. Don't rush it, because when you rush it, it ends up a poopy.
Don't use AI and get the real world politics out of it. Everything that's going on in our world right now, get it out of Assassin's Creed. We don't need none of it. Boba tea, stuff like that, nothing. We don't need it.
And then you can sprinkle in smaller stuff that still gives more niche groups within the fan base or even new players something to nom on and chew on while we're waiting for the next big thing. I think that that's a solid way to do it. And most likely what this looks like is that they have the big game like a Shadows, and then they have like a Black Flag remake that we'll talk about in a minute that comes along like 6 months to 9 months later. And so there's always a pretty steady pace of little bitty things. But this also allows them to justify doing smaller, more experimental releases like multiplayer games or spin-off games that are a little bit more niche or weird, just to try and see if they work. But then,
didn't they do this before and it did not work and it failed miserably? People forget that they've tried this before. When they had the mainline games, and then they'd have games that were for the PSP, they'd have games for the Nintendo DS, they'd have games for mobile. People forget it was crazy back in the day. They didn't just have their mainline releases.
Not as much writing on those being successful because they have a big one coming up right after that. You know, I think this is a good way to do it. At least if you're going to put out 9 games in 6 years, this is probably the best way.
They're going to have to do it different than they did before when they did the exact same thing.
One thing to note is that Tom Henderson does say that he's refrained from putting exact dates as the Shadows delays have altered the release dates. But generally speaking, these are the order of releases. In other words, like when Shadows was originally expected to launch last fall, the plans were pretty tight and lined up that this game was going to launch this fall in 2025, and then that this game was going to launch in the spring of 26. Once Shadows got delayed, everything got booped back. And then it also kind of shifted the company culture a good bit when Star Wars Outlaws did so poorly, where now, and I've heard this directly from people working at Ubisoft, the approach is now to focus more on polish and refinement, to not try to put it out and fix it later. They're trying to put out a complete game that's good to go at launch. Imagine that. They've had a revelation.
Yeah, they're going to have a good, complete game at launch. But everything else about it is still trash, except for the visuals. Because the acting, the character models, not good. Like the animation, the actual mechanics of things, like when you're crawling around on a roof and you can't just go over a lip.
It was revealed from the gaming gods. Who could have guessed this? It's so novel. But yeah, I mean, better late than never, I guess. It's funny that Ubisoft tends to have these lessons learned again and again every like 10 years or so, because
well, they still haven't learned their lesson if they're going back and doing the same thing that caused them to fail in the first place, where they're just releasing game after game after game, doing all these side releases. They still haven't learned.
Like I said previously, There was a time where Ubisoft was pumping these games out really, really quickly. Perhaps the most memorable time when this occurred was back in 2014 with Assassin's Creed Unity and Rogue. They were right at the outset of a brand new generation of consoles, and so they wanted to push the limits of what was possible with AC Unity, and they did. That game still looks graphically phenomenal even to this day. However, it was broken. Like, not even a little. It was really bad. I'm sure we've all seen the compilation videos of all the bugs and glitches and weird things that happened with AC Unity at launch, but it was because they rushed the game. They simply weren't ready to put this game out, but they had to, because that's what corporate said they had to do.
I didn't play this one because I heard that it was shitty and bad, and that's pretty much what got me to fall out of Assassin's Creed, is because this game was so bad, and I just never got back into it.
They pushed it out thinking it wouldn't matter because it was a next-gen game and people would love it anyways. But after that, it was pretty clear that Ubisoft had a change of heart and they decided to take their time. They then took a year off, which was booked in and scheduled because in 2016 they had a movie coming out. And after that movie came out, didn't do too hot, they came out with Assassin's Creed Origins in 2017, which was a total reinvention of the franchise. I mean, it was a huge shift in approach and style of the game and dev cycle. Like, everything changed with Origins, and that pretty much set up the next decade of Assassin's Creed from 2017 when that game launched all the way through today. However, it seems that Star Wars Outlaws was the AC Unity that they needed for this decade to kind of wake up and realize we can't just rush stuff out. We have to focus on polish and quality. And hey, if that gets us another decade of Ubisoft not rushing stuff, okay, cool. I'm down. We'll keep an eye on it, but
that's not even my biggest qualm with Assassin's Creed games nowadays. Now it's just like Ubisoft likes to make the same game over and over again and make little changes and say that it's new, and then slap a new coat of paint on it. And then they like to throw microtransactions into a single player game. I hate it. I don't like it. And also, the games are just like collection fests, and they just get bigger and bigger and bigger every time. More and more collection. And also, if you play Far Cry games, then it's just more of it. It's just more Far Cry, but with no guns. And in third person, just really generic, in my opinion. Assassin's Creed is like the definition of a corporate game. Besides sports games, I guess.
You know, it is funny. They have to relearn the lesson every decade or so. But hopefully they've actually learned the lesson now. And for this next onslaught of games, they actually make moves and do things with devs having enough time to do what they need to do. But having said that, the timelines have shifted, and Shadows has caused some games to get extra time. Some have just been moved back because the release schedules have shifted. But in general, the timelines will be rough, but this is approximately the order that they should be releasing. The first thing to note, as you see here, Assassin's Creed's Netflix game, codenamed Mask, has likely been canceled. This actually follows in line with some reporting that's been done. Basically, there was a Ubisoft Netflix game crossover thing.
Netflix games. I saw that Civilization was a Netflix game, and I saw that it was free on the App Store. I think this should not be allowed. I don't think that there should be free apps on the App Store, and when you click it and download it and go to it, you have to pay for it. That should not be allowed. Because I did that, I was like, oh, I can play Civilization for free on my phone. What is it, got like ads in it or something? I'm cool with that. I'll play a full Civilization game on my phone if it's got some like menu ads or like, you know, banner ads or something. No. It was telling me that I needed to sign into Netflix, and I was like, what is this? I thought this was free.
That was allegedly happening. It was announced back in 2022, and then nobody heard anything at all about it for ages until actually just earlier in April, Netflix's gaming boss, Alan Toscan, I don't know, he was asked, where's that Assassin's Creed game? And he was like, I'll have to get back to you. I'm not totally sure. Which, if it's happening, you probably don't say. So it's likely that it's been canceled or abandoned or something like that. It's not likely that that's happening. Not that anybody was looking forward to a Netflix game of Assassin's Creed. Who knows? Who knows? It's never made sense to begin with. That being said, the next game that's expected to come out is codenamed Jade. Jade is the AC game set in China. That is that mobile game from a Tencent partnered developer. This was previously revealed, and you can actually like see the website where they have like a trailer set up and where they have like a cinematic and all this stuff.
They're gonna have a Diablo Immortal clone action RPG Assassin's Creed game for mobile. And guess what? That sounds awesome, actually. Except that's not really what it's gonna be. It's gonna be a storefront simulator. I almost said Stormfront. That would have been cooler. Storefront simulator.
So they did a lot of work on it, and actually, like, this is work in progress game footage. Like, this is what it looks like on your phone. And they actually did a play test, I believe it was earlier last year, where they actually invited people to try it. I was not one of those people. I've not tried it myself, but I did speak to people and I did see gameplay that they had on their mobile devices.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a money generator for them. I'm out on that. I think I'm probably still out on all Ubisoft games at this point.
And this game is like outrageous. I don't know how they're possibly able to do this. It does look like this, but on mobile. It's ridiculous. It basically looks like AC Odyssey with a fewer like bells and whistles, like the ambient occlusion isn't as good and stuff like that. But this is what it looks like. It actually does look like that. I can affirm that. But this is a massive, big budget mobile game, basically, that aims to be an Assassin's Creed game, but on the go, and probably featuring some like gacha mechanics and things like that, because that's just how mobile games are nowadays. But this is expected to be the next thing to release. It's not going to appeal to everybody or even like the majority of current AC fans.
Get ready to see ads galore. They're going to be everywhere for that game. Might even be more prominent than Raid Shadowlands.
But mobile games print money, dude. They just do. They make billions. It's ridiculous. And so I'm sure this is going to be successful for them and they're going to make lots of money on it. Like, let's be real. But this is perhaps one of the things to remember as we go through this, is that Ubisoft is going to be trying to appeal to different niches, and that is being done with an understanding that not every game is going to appeal to everybody. Okay, like Jade being a mobile game will not appeal to probably me. I don't really play mobile games. I don't play games on my phone. That's not my thing. But
that's probably why they're wanting to release 9 games in 6 years, because they're trying to appeal to everybody, but they understand that one game isn't going to appeal to everybody. At least they're getting that part. At least for the next decade, they'll probably forget that again.
There are millions of people for whom that is like a dream come true, to play Assassin's Creed style games sitting at work or on the go, on the train or on the bus. That's like perfect for them. In which case, this is the game for them. This is exactly what they need. But then another game may come along, like a Black Flag remake, that is exactly what I want, but that doesn't appeal to those players. And this is the idea, is that they're trying to give individual audiences exactly what they want, instead of trying to make the one super game that does it all, but really poorly. And I think, again, this is the way to do it. Instead of trying to make AC Valhalla be the super game that does everything poorly, have smaller games that do what they're trying to do well.
I like that. I hope they can actually do that and stick to that, but also not just keep generating the same thing over and over again of those differences, you know? They make, like, for example, 3 different games, but then the sequels to those games are exactly how those 3 games are, but with little changes, and they keep doing that over and over again. It's going to create fatigue very, very quickly.
I think that's the right way to do this. After Jade, they expect Invictus. Invictus is the working title for an Assassin's Creed Fall Guys inspired game where players will compete in matches of 16 players. If Invictus aligns with internal expectations, there's around a 5-year plan of support. Wow, and updates already penciled in.
That sounds like an utter failure, unless it's just going to be a B game where they don't spend very much money on it. Sounds like an utter failure. Sounds like a big stinker.
Am I just naive? 5 years seems like a long time to support a live service game that you don't even know is going to be successful. I mean, either way, props to them if they are that confident to.
It might just be smaller. If it's smaller and they're paying people less to work on it because it's a smaller game, easier to maintain. I could see it. I could see 5-year plan.
Schedule 5 years of support. That's wild. But we'll see. Again, like, this might not appeal to narrative RPG players of the series, but if it's a fun, like, multiplayer game that just is branded with Assassin's Creed stuff, I could see that appealing to certain people, especially if it's like also on mobile or something. You never know. That's the thing I've
They're probably gonna try and hit like that viral multiplayer video game, something that'll be, played for maybe 3 months by everybody, and then some people play it for the next few years. Kind of like Among Us,
I've learned is that even though it may not be for me, there's still millions of people spending crazy amounts of money on certain random things. Like, I don't get the appeal of buying a Nicki Minaj skin in Call of Duty, but they put it in the game because it made tens of millions of dollars. Okay, like, just because I don't get it doesn't mean that there's not an audience for it, and I'm trying to be more understanding of that, because otherwise I'm just living in a state of constant confusion. But anyway, continuing on, Obsidian. This is their Black Flag remake, rebuilt in the new Anvil engine, and it's expected to launch around the same time as Invictus. And this is what's particularly interesting to me. I mentioned at the top that I was speaking to some Ubisoft marketing people like a year and a half-ish ago. And I said, if you're going to do like a multiplayer, because there were leaks and rumblings about multiplayer Assassin's Creed games, I was like, if you're going to do that, you need to pair those announcements with something that's going to service and serve like the core fan base. Because if a hardcore Assassin's Creed fan sees that you're just going to do a spin-off mobile game or spin-off multiplayer game that just does not at all appeal to me, I'm going to feel bummed. Even if I like
make a multiplayer game that's like the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood multiplayer, or at least something that has that kind of mode in it. That'd be super cool. I used to play that all the time. It's like where you have a target to go and assassinate somebody while somebody's targeting you and somebody's targeting them, and you got to get to your target before somebody gets you. And it was really fun. It was good.
Intellectually understand that this isn't for me and that there's going to be another game that's for me later on. If you can serve both different meals at the same time so that there's a little something for everybody, even though like they're not individually massive plates, just so that there's something for everybody to enjoy, I think that that can remove a lot of the drama at the outset. If you're gonna do an Invictus style game, which by itself probably gets poked fun at a good bit, let's be real, if this description is anything to go by, I think you need to pair it with something like a Black Flag remake announcement and release, so that even if like old school players of Assassin's Creed are like, what the hell is this multiplayer game? I'm not into this at all. There's still something for us to enjoy. There's still something for us to sink our teeth into at the same time, or roughly the same time. So I think that this is really, really solid. And this is something I told them, I'm sure many other people told them, that if you're gonna do multiplayer stuff or stuff that really does not appeal to the core fan base, give the core fan base a little something, just a little. It doesn't have to be a big standalone game like Shadows releasing at the same time as your multiplayer game, but even if it's just a little something to give a little fan service, that goes a long way. And it seems like they're doing that here, which I think again is good. After that, we expect to see codename Hexe, originally codenamed Neo. Assassin's Creed Hexe, still a working name, is scheduled to release after Shadows support ends. Shadows is scheduled currently to have around 2 years of DLC support, and Hexe will have 1 year. This is the game set during the German witch trials. It's the really dark and spooky game
That does sound really cool if they can do it right. They can get those vibes right. That sounds awesome. But they didn't get the Japanese setting quite right. They could have done it so much better a decade ago when everybody was asking for it. But no. I think it's because you got a bunch of lame drama club people who hired in a bunch of their friends. Don't actually have any good sense of style or what's cool. And they're just pretending to know what's cool and seeing trendy stuff and like, that's cool, everybody likes that. And that's not, trending stuff is not actually cool. It's just trending. It's just dumb people hopping on a trend, doing the same thing as everybody. I hop on trends too sometimes, so I'm including myself in the dumb people. And it's not lasting. To be a great game, people have to be playing it and know that this game is going to make history. It's going to be going down in history as one of the greatest games of all time. If it's not that, then your game is trash. Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be one of those games where you look back and you're like, yeah, that game came out for that time and only that time.
They say is going to have a lot more horror elements. It's not going to be comforting. It's not going to be all silly and goofy, kind of like Odyssey was. This one is going to be very, very different. Previous reporting, actually also done by Insider Gaming, says that it's being developed by Ubisoft Montreal. That's the team that did Black Flag, Origins, and then Valhalla. They're working on it, and it focuses heavily on witchcraft. It's supposedly set in Central Europe sometime during the 16th century Holy Roman Empire period. Hexe follows a more linear approach, not trying to be like a big open world game, and it's going to be more like old school Assassin's Creed titles compared to the likes of Valhalla or Odyssey. Players will take on the role of Elsa, a female protagonist with supernatural powers of some type.
That sounds like it could be interesting. I don't think that supernatural powers really fits into Assassin's Creed. I really wish that all these new Assassin's Creed games were just kind of spin-offs. Like call it Assassin's Creed Stories or something like that. But if it's fun, it's fun, you know? If it's good, it's good. Even if they kind of just retcon everything. There was kind of magic, though, in Assassin's Creed already. But it was more like spiritual kind of magic, which, you know, witchcraft kind of spiritual too, but not exactly the same thing. Well, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
Sounds like a witch to me, if you ask me. Certain abilities will allow you to take control of certain animals to escape capture. A dark, dank city, dank, will play a central role in the game setting. A current logo for the game features an occult alphabet of the Magi. I don't know.
This sounds like why even make it Assassin's Creed? Just like make a different game and make it like have the soul of Assassin's Creed, but it be a different game, like a different thing. They just have to attach the IP on it because they know nobody will buy it if they don't. Because it's probably going to be trash and they know it. Hopefully it's good. I'm tired of these 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 games.
Translated to, we work in the dark to serve the light. Makes sense. And Clint Hawking serves as the creative director of the game. And there's also been previous reporting on like leaked gameplay of that, which has not been made public. It's basically just been kept to the journalists reporting on it that have seen it. I've not seen it, but what the people who have seen the gameplay have said is that it looks significantly different from what we've seen in recent iterations of Assassin's Creed. And it basically is much darker, much more gritty, much more serious. It takes a lot of inspiration from the Jack the Ripper DLC for AC Syndicate, which is interesting with its own like fear-based system. It sounds interesting and novel, and I'm actually fairly intrigued by it. So we'll see.
Definitely intriguing. Definitely probably shouldn't be an Assassin's Creed title. But if it's, like I said, if it's good, it's good. I can get it out of my head that it's connected to the old Assassin's Creed games, probably. It's been so long. I'll just pretend it's not Assassin's Creed. It just has the soul of Assassin's Creed. Or like, you know, it's a successor, kind of like Assassin's Creed was from Prince of Persia.
What Hexe ends up being, but it's going to be very, very different. And it's probably like late next year, if not early 2027. Again, all the timelines are kind of rough because the original plan was to put this out 2 years after AC Shadows initially launched, but that would have put it originally targeting like fall of 2026 because
take a risk. Don't call it Assassin's Creed. Just call it Hexe.
Shadows was supposed to launch last fall. Does that change now? Do they push it to the spring or something? I personally don't think so. So I would expect that this probably comes out fall of 26. That'd be my guess. After that, there is the rumored Project Scarlet, which is the next big RPG after Shadows and will release after Hexe support ends after a year. So again, this probably lines it up for like late 2027. Maybe it spills into like 2028 because that's right around the shift of console generations. So it could be that this ends up being like a launch title for the PlayStation 6 and whatever the next Xbox is called. It could mean that they end up releasing it right before the launch of those consoles and it's a cross-generational game, kind of like Valhalla. It's not super clear at this point, but either way, I think that they have an opportunity here to kind of straddle that line for those big shifts in the industry. He says, I haven't been able to pinpoint further details on what this game is, but it has been greenlit and entered production. My speculation is that it's Assassin's Creed Nebula, which has previously been reported on, which is a game that will take place in 3 different settings: India, the Mediterranean, and the Aztec Empire. And this is something that's been rumored for a while.
That sounds really cool. Not gonna lie. Have 3 different places. Are they gonna be happening at the same time? Like same time period, just 3 different places? Because that would be really cool.
But we have no idea what this means. Like, we really don't. It could mean that there's one protagonist that goes to all 3 different locations, kind of like Valhalla, where Eivor actually goes and travels to different places throughout the course of the game. It could mean that there's 3 different protagonists through 3 different areas, potentially at 3 different periods in time. It could mean that they start in different spots and they all kind of converge. Like, we just don't know. We just don't know. One thing I think could be interesting is if they did something like an Octopath Traveler style game where they have 3 different protagonists, one in India, one in the Mediterranean, one in the Aztec Empire, and then you get to choose at the start of the game which one you start with, and eventually all of the player characters kind of cross paths, and then kind of like GTA 5, you're able to swap between them as you need or as you see fit. That could be interesting, and then
that really plays off of what they were trying to do with Assassin's Creed Shadows, if they do it like that. And that does sound very interesting. And I kind of hope that's what's going on here, because that sounds cool. I really want to buy another Assassin's Creed game, but I'm not going to do it unless they get an actual 8.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10 game.
Encourages you to go back and play the intro multiple times with the different characters. Again, Octopath Traveler did it in that game, and that was really, really interesting. So there's opportunities for all sorts of craziness, but the point is we just don't know. This is fairly far out. Again, it's targeting release probably after about a year of support for Hexe, which puts it right at that threshold for next gen consoles. So maybe they have some very ambitious idea for what they're doing here that isn't possible until the PlayStation 6 hardware is available, because again, right around 2027, 2028 is when that should be happening. So time will tell, but as of right now, we really just don't know much. The next one that is still very, very early is Project Stardust, and this is their 2nd remake that's in development, and it's going to enter production following Obsidian's release, which is the Black Flag remake. Not clear what game it's even a remake of. It could be a remake of AC2. I've heard rumblings it could be the original AC game. We don't know, but speculation will certainly run rampant. And once
either one of those 2 will be great. Hopefully they don't choose Brotherhood or Revelations just out of nowhere, and it just be like in the middle. I could definitely see it being the first one though, because we're all made of stardust. Stardust is where all creation begins, from what I've heard.
it starts to leak, I'm sure we'll hear all about it. Emerald will launch shortly after Stardust, though, within a couple of months, and this will be another multiplayer title with at least five-year plan of support if the game releases and meets internal expectations. Again, this is like exactly what I, and I'm sure many other people have told them. If you're going to do a live service game, if you're going to do multiplayer stuff that has the potential to like piss off core fans, give the core fans something to sink their teeth into, and then do the multiplayer game on the side.
It might be something that's like a Destiny-like. If it's called Raid, you know, there's probably raids in it. It's probably like a Destiny-like RPG. And I could see Assassin's Creed having a successful game like that. That'd be pretty cool.
So that's viewed as like the side platter. And then people who are interested in the multiplayer game can play that. People who like the old school stuff have something to engage with. They're also planning to do that with Emerald, which again, good idea. Please do this. Because I swear to God, if you announce like a multiplayer game and nothing else for the core fan base, I can see the video titles already, okay? It's going to be a mess. But if you give the core fan base something like a Black Flag remake,
Hey, if we even have video titles, because we may not have the internet. That's a long time ahead in the future, man. AI is going crazy fast. It might take over the internet by then. We might be in an all-out war against the robots.
make like an AC2 remake or something so that they have something to talk about. They won't have the energy to complain about the multiplayer game because they'll be eating good with their own thing. You know, that's all I'm saying. So I'm glad to see this. This is good. 2 thumbs up. He says this could be the PvE game previously under the codename Raid, or the other multiplayer game under Echoes, but it appears at the very least one of those games have been canceled. So one of the experimental like live service multiplayer games has likely been canceled in addition to the Netflix game, but it's not clear at this point which one that is or why it was canceled. We just don't know. And the fact that it wasn't even leaking previously what it would have been shows it was very, very early. It probably like was less than 10 people working on it, would be my guess. A lot of these early like incubation period projects only have like 5-6 developers on them at a time, and they're literally just designing a game on a whiteboard. So chances are they pitched it, it just didn't get approved, and they didn't think it had potential to really return a profit, so they canceled it. Either way, that's that. RPG3, clever codename. I bet you can figure out what that stands for. Currently does not have an assigned codename, developer, or theme, but it is penciled in to release after Scarlet's 2 years of support. So they're just saying, hey, we're going to work on this eventually. We're going to accept like pitches and ideas. No clue what it is yet, but we'll figure it out.
I mean, we know we're going to be alive by then, yeah? We know we're going to be making a really big Assassin's Creed game by then still, because that's all we're going to have still, because we aren't going to release any new IPs anytime soon. Probably the next decade. Far Cry, Rainbow Six, Assassin's Creed, that's all we got. Hopefully it doesn't fail. Can't fail if we throw 9 of them at them. They'll eat up something.
And again, that would be something that releases after 2 years of Scarlet support, which we're already talking like 2029, 2030-ish. That's the time periods we're talking about with this. Same with this remake number 3. It does not have an assigned codename, developer, or game, but it will be one that releases roughly after a year of RPG 3's release, which puts it 2030, 2031. So they're planning that far out already, and some of it has not even started production, and they don't even know what it's going to be, like these remakes and RPGs, but still, it's crazy. They're working that far ahead of time, and they're thinking that long term, which for a company that's putting thousands of developers on projects is significant, because it means that...
You know what that means? That means that the deadlines are going to be crazy set in stone. They've got project back to back to back to back. If one of them gets delayed, they all get delayed. One of them fails, they all get hurt, even if it's good, because it gives bad sentiment. That also means that they're probably going to go against their word where they said, we're going to keep it in the oven until it's done. But what if they get 2 that aren't done in a row? They're going to have to release something.
That hopefully the devs are going to get the resources in time that they need. But you know what? I'm
They
optimistic with this. You know, I love Assassin's Creed games because I played them when I was younger, and I remember the days when they were goated back with like AC2 and even like Black Flag. I mean, these games back in the day were like cream of the crop, and they've, you know, had some hits and misses here and there.
I would argue that they're still embarrassing a lot of AAA games that have been coming out of late.
You know, but the quality's been more up in the air. But I just hope that this is the start of sort of a renaissance of Assassin's Creed games. I would love for that to happen. Just the idea of getting like a full remake, even close to like the Oblivion remake, but for Black Flag, that's really exciting to me, and I like that. And some people are gonna no doubt like throw fits over the multiplayer stuff, which I think probably, you know, reveals that they're not too familiar with Assassin's Creed games, at least older ones, because like these games had multiplayer modes going way back early on. This is a clip from Loomer of Assassin's Creed 3 multiplayer match gameplay. Like, this game had multiplayer modes, little like arenas where you'd go and you'd try to assassinate each other. Really straightforward and simple, but kind of fun and novel. But I think like the height of Ubisoft's experimentation with multiplayer stuff in the Assassin's Creed franchise was with AC Unity, as you can see here in this clip.
Remember when everybody was releasing all of these multiplayer modes and they were crazy and experimental? Nobody knew what they were going to release. I loved it. I loved playing all these random multiplayer modes that were just free with no storefronts. They were just little, you know, things that you could do, like mini games that were just online. And I loved it. I loved it so much.
From Mr. Ed with AC Unity's multiplayer mode, where they had co-op matches where you could go in with your friends and like work together on black box missions, assassinating targets. Really, really cool. And it honestly worked quite well. Like smoke bomb, one friend tosses it in, another guy rushes in and is going to get the jump on him and assassinate him right there. Boom. And you did it. And then everybody just escapes. Run off the wall, go jump into the water and get out. You did it. You assassinated the target. I love that idea. I love these types of modes. I've actually played these with my friends years after Unity's launch.
Stuff like this, where they were just trying things just to have extra things in their game, is how we got Black Ops Zombies. That's how we got multiplayer modes in general. That's how we got Fortnite. Nobody ever really just tries stuff anymore. When they do try stuff, when it's these big companies, they're trying to copy a trend. But with their own spin on it. And it makes everything the same, just with different paint.
And it's honestly a good time. If you've not tried Unity's co-op mode, you should. It's actually pretty decent. But what happened is Unity was such a disaster that they ended up throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and they were like, oh, Unity didn't do well. Well, it's clearly because of the co-op when it wasn't. But also back in 2014, co-op was like, it was like saying, live service. It was like saying extraction shooter nowadays. Like everybody kind of rolled their eyes when you said co-op back in 2014. But nowadays, I think people would be into this. If like some of the multiplayer projects and games that they're working on, whether that be Invictus or the other ones like I think it was Echoes that's rumored and speculated about, if those end up playing any similarly to this, I'm interested. That could be really, really cool. But even if it's something that looks awful or something that I just hate or am not interested in, like if they still give me access to a Black Flag remake or an AC2 remake or an AC1 remake or something so that I have something to sink my teeth into, I'm still a happy camper. I think I'll still be good to go. Even if I'm not currently enjoying like the live service offering, I'm okay with that. Just like back in the day, if you didn't like the...
Well, too bad. They're all going to be live service offerings. Even the single player games gotta always be online with that storefront connected.
The co-op mode in Unity, just don't play the co-op mode. If you don't like the multiplayer mode in AC3, just don't play the multiplayer mode in AC3. Like it's, no harm, no foul. If you're not interested in it, just don't play it. And I think that's the approach they're taking now. They're just breaking it up into multiple standalone releases so that each game kind of has its own ability to be the focus of a marketing campaign and they can target them more specifically.
I hope that allows them to take more risks because they got so many games coming out. I hope it's all not just going to be like the regular stuff that it's supposed to be like, They're chasing trends and being like the trends and not actually making anything cool, new, and interesting. I hope it's not like that. At least one of them has to be. Like that Witch one. That one kind of sounds cool, but it also sounds like it could just be another Dragon Age the Veilguard.
And focus resources that way as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out for Ubisoft. A lot of eggs are in this basket, certainly. But I think if you're going to release 9 games in 6 years, this is the way to do it. I mean, I maybe wouldn't release this many if I were in charge of the franchise, but I also am not responsible for 19,000 people's livelihoods. So maybe if I were, I would be more inclined to try pumping a lot more of these out. But at the very least, it's interesting to see how they're handling it. And I think the way that they're going to approach it is probably the right way, where you pair live service with single player stuff that appeals to old school fans and
get the live service out of the single player stuff, please.
You give devs time and resources to make the games they actually want to make. I think if they can follow through on all of that, they have a chance at some serious success, at least with core fans. And we saw with AC Shadows, there's still a lot of interest in the franchise if you give the devs time and resources to do what they're capable of doing. But let me know what you think of all of this in the comments.
I think that they're not going to have enough time. I think this makes things worse. Gives them more deadlines, more and more deadlines, because they don't have to worry about just the deadline for the game they're working on. They got to worry about the deadline for the next game and the next game and the next game.
Comment section below. I'm honestly very interested to hear what you guys think about this roadmap. I think it's got a decent pace. It's going to be interesting to see what Hexe is like. I think Hexe is the one I'm most intrigued by. Like the Black Flag remake might be.
Of course, it's the most intriguing one because it's the most different one. Because we want something different. We're tired of the same slot with slight changes. That's stuff that other games already do.
Cool or really, really good, I'm not sure. But Hexe, at least, we know more about and seems much more intriguing. Like, very, very interesting. A linear Assassin's Creed game? That's something we haven't seen in a long, long time. And it's also, like, really dark and gritty. They've got Darby working on the narrative. There's a lot of really interesting things that I think are going in its favor, and I'm interested to see where that goes. So let me know what you think of all of this in the comment section below. And I do know that Ubisoft employees and people have watched my videos and do watch actively. So if you have any feedback for them, put it in the comments. You never know who's reading.
That was very interesting. That was an interesting video. Learned a lot about the upcoming Assassin's Creed games. Hasn't really changed my mind much on Ubisoft. They're going to have to actually make some good games. It doesn't matter if they got 9 games releasing, if they're all going to be mid or trash games. And I would be on board also if they were going to be mid or trash games, because I like some mid and I like some trash every once in a while. The thing that takes me completely out is if they're mid or if they're trash and they have microtransactions and storefronts everywhere and in-game currencies that are tied to real money. I hate it. I hate all that stuff. I don't play any games that have any of that stuff in it. Buy a t-shirt down there in the description. I'm out.